there friends, don't be grim, cause I'm Dreary, and today we're going to be taking a look at a few people's animations and giving them some critique. Now, the last video of this I did, I got a whole bunch of comments asking me if I could put their animations into my videos. Now, I have done that in the past, but y'all really didn't seem too interested in it, so I kind of stopped. But if you would like me to restart that, or if you would like me to put one or two of y'all's animations at the end of one of these compilations, please let me know in the comment section down below if you think that would be a good idea. Now, with that being said, let's get right into the video. Alright, so it's time to take a look at our first animation of the day, and let's get right into it by saying I really enjoyed the first few seconds of lip sync. It was exactly on beat, you could tell that that was what the words were supposed to be. Everything about that lip sync was fantastic. And this bit here, when the evil, I'm assuming, character comes on screen, that was extremely fluid and amazing. I loved it a lot. But another thing that's slightly off topic, so please forgive me, was that you might want to use spell check. I know it's really not an animation critique, is because I have a huge issue with spelling, and so this is not in any means supposed to be making fun of the person, because believe me when I tell you, one of my animations I misspelled trigger, and so instead it said Tigger warning, so I guess if you have a severe fear of bouncing yellow tigers, please do not watch my animations as they are very scary. Smear frames when you're operating at a fairly lower frame rate, like I'm assuming this is around 10 or so, at least in the very beginning. Smear frames can be a lifesaver. Honestly, amazing tool that I don't see enough beginning animators use. Another thing is lip syncing. For the very beginning, that lip sync was fantastic, but as it goes on, the lip sync gets a lot less high quality. Here, for example, it's just 2 frames kind of opening and closing, and it's really not on time for the laughing itself. Really good tool to use can be a lip sync chart, which you can find all over the internet, and it really helps to just make stuff really simple. I suppose y'all wouldn't notice, but as the animation moves forward, it becomes a little bit offbeat, and it's really noticeable considering that the whole point of this animation is to be on beat, but since you're looping so frequently, you have to make sure that you cut off a little bit to make sure that every single beat, like the laughter and this scene with the little evil person, it's completely on beat. Loops are a really great tool if you use them correctly. Like I said before, make sure that you cut off the very end to make sure everything's exactly on point. And then classify your meme as a looping meme if you feel like it. But that being said, really enjoyed this portion right here because it was very smooth, and with that being said, let's move on to the next one. Alright, so for this next animation we've got, I just have to say I enjoy the overall vibe. It's really pretty and sparkly and pink, and it just is absolutely adorable. It's very cute, but I do have to say right off the bat, something that made me slightly annoyed was that this 1.5-ish long animation had a 28-second long intro. And while this is fairly long for animation memes, being about a minute, 28 seconds of intro seems a bit excessive to me. It sounds like a bit of a nitpick, and I completely understand that, but I do have my reasons that you can fully check out in my last animation cringe compilation video. Link should be at the top of your screen or in the cringe playlist that you can find all over my channel. With that shameless self-promotion out of the way, let us please continue. Second of all, the very beginning of the animation right past the intro is phenomenal. The lyrics appearing on screen, the 2 characters slowly drifting on screen with slight character movement with their line art, I just feel like that is absolutely phenomenal and is a fantastic touch. I feel like it's fairly cutesy and fits the overall vibe, but throughout the entire animation, there isn't much character animation. You see that the animator has the ability to animate character movement with the hair movement on the outro, but for the entire video, we don't really see that. We see the characters drifting across screen, and in this bit here, the characters moving to different positions, but there isn't any animation throughout the characters themselves. Something as simple as their hair drifting slightly, their eyes opening slightly, even like a slight glow or something could really push the fact that you can animate and will make everything look much more smooth. The character proportions are also a bit off, but that's just a bit of a art critique in general. What I tend to look for is head size, as you can use the head to size about anything, and that's usually the first thing you work on when you're making an art piece. Next is posing. I consider posing to be one of the most important things when it comes to animation, as animation is just quickly moving different poses around the screen. I mean, that's really simplified, but that's all animation is. While I have trouble with posing myself, it can really help when you look up tons and tons of art references. There are also a ton of art apps which you can download on any app store and really help you go above and beyond. Alright, so for the third animation we're looking at today will be the stronger animation. And I have to say right off the bat, I am invested for this storyline. You can tell that this is one of the first animations that this animator has done, and so it's not perfect, but I think the storyline itself is pretty good, and after you watch it for the first time, you completely get some of the stuff they're hinting at from the beginning, and it is awesome. That the character design is a little bit off. In this scene, for instance, I couldn't actually tell that that was a character because the color of the character blends in exactly with the background. A good thing to do when you have a Snow White character like this is make it either an off-white or make the background an off-white. That way, when you have a pure white background like this, the character pops out just a little bit more and doesn't blend in. Another thing is the lip sync. It's a bit off, and it really doesn't look like words. So I do say again, a lip sync guide on the internet goes a long way. The frame rate in some places is very low, and then it kind of changes as time goes on. I mean, here that frame's on screen for like a couple seconds, but the lip sync frame rate is fairly high. So maybe increase frame rates in some places that everything looks smooth throughout the entire animation. And then the black screen was really bugging me, because you have a pretty good storyline throughout the entire thing and some pretty good animation with fairly high frame rates, but every single time I think the animator didn't know what to animate or just got too lazy, they just put a black screen there. And while it can be an artistic touch if it comes in with the music or is supposed to symbolize a scene change or something like that, but I really didn't get that vibe from this black screen. Instead, it just felt like a space filler. For the final animation we're going to be talking about today, I just have to say right off the bat that these have a surprising amount of animation within the characters themselves. The eyes were opening and closing, the hair was moving. Honestly, I loved it a lot. But some things that confused me were the character design. I really wasn't able to tell if these were two separate characters with just same face syndrome, or if these were the same person but alternate realities or something like that. I'm assuming that these are two different characters because it had two different families, and the two different families looked nothing alike, but I really can't tell because they were at the same part of the screen and looked eerily similar to one another. Another thing is the frame rate. The frame rate was rather low, but you could still tell what was being said. But something that can really help you is by upping the frame rate, especially with that opening and closing eyes. Because if you had sped up the frame rate, it would look a little bit more natural. Now, a higher frame rate does not mean a better animation, but it can help if a frame rate is that low. Another thing is tweening. At the very beginning, you saw a star shooting across the screen, and shading. At this frame in particular, there was a whole bunch of shading, the hair looked amazing, but that really wasn't kept throughout the entire animation. I know for a fact that I will do that a whole bunch. I'll really spend forever shading a few frames and then let it drop, but even I know that it really doesn't look the best when you do that. I always try to shade as much as I possibly can, but with that being said, it was a really good animation, and let's move on to the outro. congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. Why don't you celebrate by clicking that like button and subscribing? And while you're at it, why don't you join my Discord, link in the description down below, and if you feel like it, share this video with your friend. And with that being said, I want to give a huge thank you to SilverXX from my Discord, who made this amazing edit piece of fan art, and it is cursed and fantastic. And thank you everyone so much for watching this video, and hopefully I will see you next time. See ya!